I've almost been hit probably 4 or 5 times this year, from drivers not slowing down when they go in the infield and stuff like that. And you just gotta be on your toes. Um,
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Checkered Roots. My name is Alex Eskridge, and I really appreciate you joining us here to this evening, morning, afternoon, where it is that you might be. And today is another first for us. We're gonna, for the first time, have a racing photographer on. Not just any racing photographer though. He does want to get into racing, and he is currently working on some pretty cool things. So I think that'll be cool. Also, another first to knock out is someone who is local to me. We live pretty decently close to each other. We go to the same racetracks, and so I think that it'll be a really fun conversation. So without further ado, let's introduce him, Mr. Bryce Hunter. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing good, Alex. How about yourself, my friend?
Doing good, man. Doing good. It's nice to finally talk to somebody who is in the same neck of the woods as me. So this will be fun, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen your content all over TikTok and everything, so I'm excited to sit down and have this chat.
Hell yeah, man! And with being local, we'll be able to hopefully link up at some of these tracks. But we'll get into all that stuff. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about first what your name is, what you do, what you do for a day job. Kind of just give us a brief little overview of you.
Yeah, my name is Bryce. I am a commercial refrigeration technician, my day job, with the pipe fitters, local 533. Do that. That helps support my photography, build my race car, my sim racing, everything else. So that's pretty much what I do. I'm either at work, editing, or building the race car. So there's really no free time for me.
Yeah, I feel that this podcast, and we just recently launched a new clothing brand, Black Dirt Racing Co. So I know all too well what you mean, and then I'm gonna try to throw a race car on top of all that stuff. So my free time on top of my two toddlers that I have, yeah, I don't know what that word is anymore, is what I'm coming to find out. But
You're so thin.
oh, dude, it's yeah, I'm so busy I can't see straight here anymore. But let's talk a little bit as the first photographer. What got you into photography? What made you want to be a racing photographer of all things? And kind of talk to us a little bit about that. How'd that come together?
Yeah. So when it comes to photography, like I've always liked being behind the camera, whether it was recording videos for people, taking photos of different sporting events, whether it was baseball, or my sister softball, or her dance, or whatever it was. I always enjoyed behind the camera. Um, and then last year, I kind of just picked up my old camera that I had at my mom's house and went out there and started shooting just normal car meets, car groups and everything. And then I was like, I'm gonna ask Lakeside, um, only because I-70 and them didn't weren't racing um, weekly. So I emailed Lakeside, asked if I can come out, and they were kind enough to allow me to come out, and I've been there every week since. I grew up with watching racing locally here in Kansas City. My uncle was a track champion at both Lakeside and I-70, so I know these tracks. Um, so when it came to the photography deal, it just kind of just felt normal being at the races every week, and it honestly related back to my childhood too, just because growing up at I-70 every Saturday night and everything like that, the smells, the cars, the sounds, and everything, it just felt like home. So it's kind of a no-brainer for me, and it kind of turned into more than just a hobby. It started making a little bit of money off of it. I'm like, you know what, this is actually pretty cool, and got to meet a lot of cool drivers and a lot of cool fans, and got to know all the staff at Lakeside. A lot of them are great people. Um, so yeah, it just everything kind of came together kind of quick. I got the good camera I have, and the kind of things kind of skyrocketed from there.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And that it kind of rolls into something I wanted to ask you about. So, with being a photographer, and not just a racer, you get to experience literally anything you could think of at the racetrack. You get to experience the pits and you get to be with the drivers, but then you're also, somewhat interacting with the fans and the track staff and the guys in the infield. So kind of how is that helping you with what you're working on of trying to build towards racing? Like, is that building a good connection base for you, and is that opening doors for you that it might not if you didn't have those opportunities?
Oh, absolutely. I've had a lot of drivers, reach out and ask, if I need help building my car. They'll be more willing to come out and help me or loan me parts or whatever it may be. I can honestly say, me and one of the track photographers, I'm not the only one of them has opened up a lot of windows for me to do other events. Like High Limit came through earlier this year, and I got credentials from there. Then I was able to do NASCAR when they came into town. It opened up a lot of windows, and with me building my own race car, yeah, building that relationship with drivers and building the relationships with some of the drivers and some of my good friends now. Like like the 42 Chase Mosby, the 58W Troy Wilson. Like Troy came out and helped me with my race car today, and if wasn't a photographer, that wouldn't have happened. So you know that building the relationships with the other drivers is kind of, I take pride in that, because you never know. I always grew up with the fact that it's always about who you know. My stepdad installed that in me, so I take that to heart. So I always try to make good relationships with people, because you never know if you're going to need connections somewhere down the line.
Yeah, and that has to be probably the biggest piece of advice I've gotten in the 9 or 10 interviews that we've done up to this point is one, to market yourself, because your brand that you build for yourself as a driver, anything you do in racing, is the biggest thing by far. Have a positive name to you, make friends, make the right connections. So it sounds like that's been going really well for you. But then also to hear about the other avenues that it opens. I mean, being able to go shoot and have credentials at NASCAR or the high limit stuff, like that's the opportunities that can come from that alone are huge. I can only imagine. So man, that's awesome. And then having the friends who can come help you build race cars. And I took a little bit of a different approach, and I looked up the point standings for Lakeside and for I-35 up in Winston, and I just started basically sending out proposals for me to come volunteer. Where I looked up the point standings. I was like, okay, I want to race modified. So I found every single modified person on Facebook, and I just started sending out like, hey man, I'll come wash your car for you. I just want to help out. And
Yeah.
luckily that's helped out a lot too. So that's cool that the photography has opened up even more avenues though.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you hear all these NASCAR drivers that started out, sweeping the shops and stuff like that, and that's awesome that you're in the door that way. Because I went in a kind of a backdoor way, but it's awesome that you're doing that for sure.
Yeah, man. What does the future look like for you? I know that you want to go racing, but I kind of want to ask a little bit more about the photography stuff. Like, is that something that you're trying to expand further than a weekly series thing? Like, do you want to do that more full time, or is that still just kind of like, well, this is kind of help fund my racing until it interferes with my racing?
Well, it's gonna interfere straight off the bat. Like, I won't be able to photograph because I'm gonna be in the E-mod class,
Mm-hmm.
and I won't be able to do any E-mod photography with the E-mod drivers or anything like that. Unfortunately, it's just how it's gonna be. I can't run a camera and drive at the same time. So, all the other classes I should have no worry or no issues with. When it comes to the conflict side, now when it comes to the future with my photography, it's always been more of a hobby. My career is my career. Um, it's way too good and way it pays way too much for me to pass up. So the photography, it would always be a hobby for me, or a second side job or a side hustle or whatever it may be. It probably will never be my only career. Um, just because. my benefits with my other job. I'm not gonna get into the whole that story, but um, it'd be nice to, be able to go to different racetracks, go to some other I shot at CMS, Warrensburg, this year. Won't be able to shoot Valley or I-35. Um, but my goal is to try to get to other NASCAR tracks and uh, other series at other racetracks like Knoxville, Lucas Oil, and all that other places. I want to try shooting there. But the plan is to keep as a side hustle, make a little bit of side money, and that'd be basically my racing fund at that point.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. That's awesome. No, that's awesome. So you say you're gonna race E-mods, and I'm guessing you're gonna race at Lakeside, but so you and I are kind of on the same path and same trajectory. So obviously you're a little bit further along with having your car and starting to work on it. I'm about a year behind you, it feels like, but we'll have to make sure we keep up on this, man. And when we eventually start racing against each other, we'll have to check back in on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, I can tell you, it's building a race car is probably one of the most frustrating yet most satisfying things I think I've ever done. You know, I keep people's food cold, and yes, it's awesome when you get a store back up and running and food's cold. But when you're hands on building a machine that you're going to be strapped to, and you're sitting there, it's going to sound cheesy and corny, but when you're talking to the machine, you're building the connection between man and machine, and you're putting the parts together, putting the puzzle together, wiring and motor and everything together. It's extremely satisfying, and it's honestly I've learned a lot because I'm not very when it comes to the automotive side, not very mechanically inclined. So I'm learning as I'm going, and I've been told by a bunch of drivers and even my own family that with me doing it from basically just a chassis up, that it's turned into I'm doing it the right way. I'm learning the car, learning how everything works, how it goes together. So when something inevitably breaks or a crash or whatever, I know exactly what I need to do, how to take it apart, and then put it right back together.
Yeah, you and I share exactly the same view on that of I mechanically things make sense to me, but automotive mechanics I don't have any experience with them. So engines, like I could tell you probably how it works, but what the parts are called or how the intricate stuff works, there ain't no shot I know what anybody's talking about. So that's why I wanted to do the same thing of buy a roller or buy a bare chassis, and I'm going to put the parts on there and I'm going to learn what bolt goes to what stuff. So you and I aligned perfectly on that, but I had a little bit different way of thinking about it from not building the bond between man and machine, which I really like that, by the way. But my thing about it is if I can take this car and I'm gonna suck for the first year, I'm gonna be terrible.
I
But
will too.
if I start learning, okay, well if I tweak this, then it does this, and okay, now I'm starting to figure out, okay, I'm getting faster. Now I'm not way back marker, I'm just back marker, and start getting better and better and better. If I could eventually take the car that I built from the ground up to a win, and I beat all these other guys who might have or might not have, I'm not saying everybody does it, but spend all this money and buy these full built out cars, and I built this thing from the ground up, I feel like the reward in that would be so fucking cool.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean I mean, even though the bond of man and machine, but you and I also share that same sentiment with you on that side too, because I'll be doing the same thing with this car. A little adjustment here. Okay, well I lost a tenth. Okay, a little adjustment here. Okay, now I gained that tenth back, but I lost all my handling. It's like one of those things you got. All that the fine tweaks you got to do with the setups and everything. So you and I share that same sentiment right there.
Beautiful, beautiful. What's the update of the car? What's the timeline looking like? When are you gonna try to get on track? Where do we stand as it sits today?
As it sits today, well, we are probably at least 2.5 to 3 months out, which would put us right toward the end of the season. Um, the goal is to hopefully get on track to where we're not interfering with championship points, whether it's close to championship week or whatever. I know Lakeside runs a couple weeks past the championship week, So maybe run those last few weeks and then bring it to the shop and do the tear down and stuff. But as it sits right now, we have basically a bare bones car with some body panels on it. Not everyone, not everything. We had to bend the rear end back. We had to put the third member in, change the yoke out. We have to do. We still have to put a motor in. We have the transmission and everything. But we're in a point where we just got to start piecing it together. Really, we have basically everything we need except motor. So um, we got to do electrical and everything. So yeah, we're about, I'd say, 2 months out. Me and my buddy leave on we go on a vacation here the end of August, so that puts us another week behind.
Right, but you got to make time for the fun stuff too. I mean, racing's fun,
Oh,
but you got to still take a break.
oh yeah, it's a break from life, going on
Right.
a cruise.
Oh hell yeah, dude. That'll be fun. Oh, that'd be cool. Well, when you eventually, hopefully, get on track later this year, man, you'll have to keep me updated on when that is, and I will definitely, like I was telling you before we started recording, my son and I, that's kind of Lakeside's where we like to go on Fridays, and then I go help out at I-35 on Saturdays. But when you get on track, man, you'll have to let me know, and we'll do like a little the first like checkered routes track check in, and we'll come holler at you and see how everything's going, and you and I'll get to meet face to face. I'm sure we'll do it before then, but living so close, but we'll have to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the plan, is to be on track this season and then race all next season. So that's
Hell
the
yeah, dude.
plan.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, in your time and experience, if you're there every week at Lakeside, and you said you've done I-70 and some of these other tracks too, I'm sure you have a. Do you have any good racetrack stories? Some of the crazy stories, or the funny stories, or story that you hold near and dear, anything like that?
Well, when it comes to, I'll just stick with the photography side. I would say some of the stories this year, um, there's been a lot of good ones and a lot of bad ones. Um, like one of the stories was, I think it was week 1 or 2. I'm usually over in turn 2 at Lakeside, over by the blue building. People who go to Lakeside,
Yeah,
you
I've sat in that building before.
yeah, I'm usually over there in turn 2, by that pump station on that pavement pad. I've almost been hit probably 4 or 5 times this year, from drivers not slowing down when they go in the infield and stuff like that. And you got to speed, just got to be on. I mean, mosquitoes all over the place. Um, you just got to be on your toes. Um, that's the biggest thing. Um, I mean, there's been time I had a car barely miss me by a couple feet. I've had a car slam and land right where I was standing. Um, it's just a matter of, just got that's kind of my stories. But I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, it's
So
pretty much,
I think
yeah.
I was there opening weekend, and I was in the blue building, and I don't know. I know for a fact that this happened, and but I don't know if it was you that I said it about. But it was in the street stock. I think it was in the street stock class, or I think that's what it was. But there was like a 3 or 4 car pileup in turn 2 right in front of the blue building. And I remember a car hit the concrete, that if it was you or if it was another photographer that was standing in turn 2 at that pump station, but a car landed in that concrete. And I remember saying to my wife who was standing there, I was like, holy shit, dude, that photographer just about got hit. So if that was you, that's kind of
That
crazy,
was
because
me.
I remember vividly saying, like, holy shit, dude, that photographer was standing right there where that car's sitting.
Yep, that was me.
Yeah. Huh.
Yep, I had, yep, a talk of it. Yeah.
Small world, man. Small world.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah,
cool,
that's
man.
probably my biggest criticism of Lakeside is the drivers when they come to the infield like that. I mean, that car was spinning out, fair
Mm-hmm.
enough, right? But the biggest thing I have with being in the infield and being on the outer edge of the track is, if they're coming to the infield like that, they got to slow down. Like, I get it, you're within the tire and the lights, but I mean, there's other people in that area you got to be minding your p's and q's about, and that's probably my biggest gripe. with being a photographer lakeside.
Yeah, it is kind of an odd setup. I mean, it is an odd kind of setup, but at least there, in turn two, the one that I'm thinking of, at least there is a light pole that's there, so maybe it's more of a deterrent. But yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely can understand what you're saying with that. Well, cool, man. Well, to kind of close these out, I like to, kind of open up the floor to you guys, and anything that you feel strongly about, or where we can find you on social media, or any stories or things that you didn't get to touch on, just kind of naturally through what we were talking about. I kind of like to open the floor to you guys for this last little piece. So by all means, man, floor is yours.
Well, there's a lot more to the fast action branding that it's not just a photography deal. It's also my gaming brands. It's also my business enterprise name. I've had that name since I was probably 14 years old. You know, but I'm also not only a photographer, not only a race car builder. I'm also a team manager for the Kansas City Pioneers NASCAR team.
Are you really?
I am.
I was looking into that here a while back, actually.
Yep. Graham Bowling and Casey Kerwin. Yep.
Yep.
I'm the team manager for him. Yep.
No shit. Huh. The
Yep.
people you get to know, man. All right, sorry, keep going.
uh, so when I'm not, I'll be honest with you, I need to get back and more involved in that aspect, but that's a whole another story. Um, but yeah, that's the connections I have through NASCAR and everything else. So is the NASCAR side, and I try to help out with them as best I can. So I do a lot of virtual racing too, with sim racing and everything else like that. But yeah, mainly, you can find me on my Facebook page, Fast Action Photography. It's basically a black and white picture with a Camaro on it. It's the easiest way I can describe it. I try to upload all the pictures every week, especially with me in the summertime and with work and building the car and editing and everything. It's kind of hard for me to upload every picture, but I'm trying. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I appreciate you letting me come on, and excited to see what your future looks like.
Yeah, man, you and me both. We're excited to see where this thing grows to. But I'm excited. I'm excited for you, man. You're literally walking the path that I'm trying to. You're just about a year ahead of me. So I'll catch you here eventually. I'll catch you eventually. But no, I'll make sure that all of Bryce's stuff is linked down in the description with the fast action photography and the whole branding. And yeah, we'll see where the future takes us, and hopefully we can get to like a track check-in, because I want to start doing stuff like that here in the future anyways. But hopefully we can get out here and come see you here sometime, man.
All right, I appreciate. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely, man. Well, have a great rest of your night. Thanks for the time.
Yep, thank you.